Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And before we get started, you'll have seen the message at the beginning of the video giving a warning. I want to reiterate that warning. This story is absolutely vile. I'm not even going to go into the story in any depth. I'm just going to cover basically the headlines and a quick glance over it. The story itself is part of a larger picture, and I'm going to bring the larger picture into frame through the video, but it's just one of those things that when I saw it and I was like, how do I even address this as a video? And then what's happened is that a contact of mine, and I'm going to protect her anonymity, provided me with a picture, and I thought that's got a story in it, and I was going to do the story about the picture that she sort of provided for me, and that'll be in there. And if you're watching, you'll know exactly who you are, and I want to thank you personally for it. It's been a bit of an eye-opener, that one. But then while I was sort of preparing to do the video on that, this story came up, and then something I read yesterday, and I was like, if I coalesce these three things together, we'll get a picture. And that's what this video is. It's not going to be particularly the story that I'm going to be looking at by way of introduction, but a more rounded picture. So stick with it. Won't be a long video, but it just gives you an idea of the direction of travel for this particular group. So here goes, and I do say it's this first piece is a bit close to the knuckle. I'm going to have to be very careful what I say and how I present it to get through the YouTube algorithm. I may have to be very judicious in my edits, so stick with it. Thanks. Here goes. Right, man as dressed as a woman. So we have a trans man. Try to, and you can read the words, with a dog. Is jailed for 12 weeks after he was seen by a member of the public who called the police in horror before the pet was returned to its owner. 12 weeks. That should be 12 years. And then psychological assessment, probably for the rest of his life. And I'm going to show you the man's face, because I want this man's face out there. Peter Lurwell admitted to trying to do this while dressed as a woman. The 30-year-old spotted by a member of the public as he was doing it. The dog was taken to a vet and examined, was thankfully unharmed, and yes, we don't want the dog harmed, for God's sake, I love dogs. He was banned from owning dogs and put on the SO's register for 5 years. That should be life. That should be on that register for the remainder of his sad, miserable existence on this planet. This is the story itself, just goes through and highlights what's happened. We're going to try and glance over most of it. Officers confirmed that the incident happened in Hurstpierpoint in West Sussex, where Lurwell is from. He's also been banned from owning or having any control of a dog for 5 years. Again, 5 years. That means in 5 years' time he can do this again. No. He should be banned from having animals for the rest of his life. And he was also put on, let's say, the SO register for the same time. Life. It's got to be for life. What is wrong with the courts where this kind of behaviour is... I just can't get my head round this, right? Anyway, 12 weeks, he'll do 6. He's probably done a week in remand, so he'll be out in 5 weeks. So there is a picture of him. I want everyone to see that. I want everyone to see this. This is another picture of him. He looks a weirdo, doesn't he? He looks like a sad, sad man. I don't want to go into the story, so I'm going to stop the story there. I just wanted that to be at the start of the little journey that we're going on. So we have a trans man doing that. And then we have the picture that was sent to me. Now, I've had to edit the video at this point because the picture I showed up just wouldn't be allowed on YouTube. For some reason, YouTube kept rejecting it. I think there must be issues around it. So I'm not showing the actual picture was shown, but I am going to show images of the 5 individual men that were on that picture. And I'm going to talk you through what each of those men has done. And we're going to start with this first one, who you see. Now, this man is a tech reporter. His name is Peter Bright. And he called women who objected to gender-neutral toilets fear-mongering TERFs. So we know which side he's on. And he was convicted of soliciting with a 7-year-old girl and her 9-year-old brother. So that's the sort of person who dislikes fear-mongering TERFs. And here, of course, we have former Labour MP Eric Joyce. Now, he said that female-only changing rooms are a construct well past its sell-by date. And very shortly after saying that, he pleaded guilty after being caught with film of the R's of 7 children, including a 12-month-old baby. So here's another one, a fellow traveller of the trans community. And now we've got a prison official called Gordon Pike, and it was he who approved prison policy that allowed males who identified as females to be housed in women's prisons. And he pled guilty to possessing 22,000 images of CP. So again, another one pushing the agenda of the trans lobby. Next on the list is Councillor David Smith, who petitioned to make all the toilets in Middlesbrough gender neutral so that men could join the ladies. He was arrested on 9 counts of SAing a child. Because of course he was. So this is an election agent called David Challoner. His son decided that he would like to become a lady and called himself Amy Challoner. So he's obviously a fellow traveller before we get started. Now he ran Amy's bids for MP and for running for Coventry City Council on a platform of trans rights and inclusive spaces. He's currently serving 22 years for R-ing and T-ing, allowing an after T-O-R-T, a 10-year-old girl. So again, that shows you the calibre of the people that are in that trans lobby. And can't imagine anything lower than the low for what that man has done. And his weird son, who I wouldn't be surprised wasn't too dissimilar. Right, I think we can finish with this bunch. I'll come up and we'll look at some statistics that may shine a light. And we're going to look at this article from The Spectator, and this was the beginning of this year. There's a lead in, which we're not going to read all the lead in. But what's happened was the controversy about men in women's prisons. And it was when Fair Play for Women, a feminist campaign group, analysed the English prison service data for 2018 and said that 41% of trans women, i.e. men, who went to prison into a women's prison, were there for SOs, S offences, right? Victoria Atkins, Justice Minister, she wrote, as of our latest data collection on the 31st of March 2021, there were 146 transgender women, that is, prisoners who were legally male but who were pretending to be female, in prisons across England and Wales. Of these, fewer than 5 transgender prisoners were housed in the women's estate at that time. Now, this is like 18 months ago, but we know that figure's higher now. Anyway, they've gone through, they've analysed the data. So what they're saying is, on current offences in the men's estate, there were 87 transgender women, i.e. 87 mentally ill men who dress as women, pretend to be women, with a conviction for at least one SO. And in the women's estate, the number of transgender men, with a conviction for at least one SO was fewer than 5. They're not putting a number on it. Of these numbers, we can say with some confidence that last year there were between 142 and 145 men in prison, and 8, men who pretend to be women in prison, and 87 of those prisoners had at least one conviction for an S offence. This means the proportion of male-born trans women in the prison system who are S offenders is between 60 and 61.3%. In other words, virtually 2/3 of the trans in prisons are S offenders. That's 3 times higher than the normal background level. It's over 3 times higher than the normal background level for offenders in prison. I'm going to finish there, and I'm going to come up and make the final address here. But that is a frightening figure. So I think we can see that from the evidence, from our own experience, from what we see around us, and now from the statistics, that this group that says, oh, we're normal, we just want to be called ladies because, you know, we feel that way. You're not right, and you're dangerous. When you see those fellow travellers that are pushing for the trans rights, and you've seen the awful things they do, that is who you're dealing with here. And they shout very loud when you call them out on it. Well, I'm calling you out on it. Every single one of you is a P. Now, you must never trust these people near children. They're constantly pushing. They're obsessed with children. You look at all the charities they set up or get involved with so they can get into schools here, get into youth groups there, get close to children, particularly small children, because they want to sort of get in there and warp their minds and blackmail them, not blackmail, brainwash them into thinking that their perversion is normal. Why do they want to get into changing rooms with young girls? We know why. And most of these men that become women aren't. They're men, and they're straight men. So when they become a woman, they want to be a lesbian because they don't want anything to do with a penis. No, thank you. No. I may dress as a woman. I may get off on being a woman, but I don't want that penis near me. No, because they're still straight men. But they're straight men with a very, very weird set of paraphilias. And there's no such thing as a single paraphilia. If you are paraphiliac, you have a range of paraphilias. And that range always extends to children. That's who these people are. And we've seen it. And not just children, animals. That's who these people are. They're scum. You cannot trust them with children. Anyway, I'm going to stop before I get myself in trouble. YouTube doesn't like certain words, and I think I may have used a couple, so I have to be very careful and check the edit. Anyway, thanks for listening so far. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications of future output, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, protect those children from these deviants, and goodbye.